Please welcome from Magic 106.7 Boston and the chair of the ASSP's Boston chapter, David O'Leary.
This is just beautiful to look out and see. Just take a moment, look around. This is so beautiful. Welcome to Boston. Thank you so much for being here. I'm David O'Leary. I'm chair of the Boston chapter of AFSP. In 1995, my cousin Paul died by suicide, and I was working on the radio here in Boston at the time. And about 6 months after Paul died, I got a public service announcement in the mail. Back when people actually mailed things, I got this public service announcement in the mail for this organization that I'd never heard of. It was called the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And I was doing a public affairs show, and I called and I set up an interview with a woman named Nancy Farrell, who I had met. She was then the chair of Boston's AFSP board. The connection that I made with Nancy was immediate, profound, and would be apparently long-standing. Since then, I volunteered at walks and at AFSP events. I later joined the advisory board, the board of directors, and now I serve as chair of the Boston chapter. I have seen firsthand the power of our community to fight suicide and honor lives that have been lost, like my cousin Paul's. Each of us here this evening have our own stories and our own reasons for being here. And as the sun, and it's out there somewhere, as the sun begins to set, we remember those reasons. And at AFSP, we use two symbols to keep them in our sights and to keep them in our hearts. Our luminaria, here in front, remind us that the light of those we've lost is never truly extinguished. And no matter how dark life may sometimes seem to those of us who struggle with mental illness or addiction or depression, the light of hope is always present. Our honor beads pay tribute to loved ones lost, a personal struggle or a victory. They come in many colors representing the diversity of our community and our connections to this cause. It's now my profound honor to introduce you to some of the extraordinary people who are a part of that community. Thomas Dubois wears purple beads, symbolizing the loss of a friend or relative. 10 years ago this month, Thomas's 18-year-old niece Alexis took her life. Alexis was a tomboy by nature. She was smart and she was outgoing, and she made everyone around her feel comfortable. She was an honor roll student, she had perfect attendance at school, and just 2 days after her high school graduation, she was gone. Every year on the anniversary of her death, Thomas takes the day off, goes up to Lynch Park in Beverly, Massachusetts, one of Alexis's favorite places, and releases a balloon and a rose up to here. Thomas is here in the hope that no other family will have to go through the pain of losing someone they love to suicide. Wearing orange beads to symbolize the loss of a sibling is Sherry Burchill. 11 years ago, Sherry lost her brother Denny to suicide. Sherry also walks for an uncle and cousins who have died by suicide, and for families who have or had mental illness. This is Sherry's 12th overnight. She's also captain of Team Survivors of Loved One Suicide or Solos. She's dedicating their walk this year to the late Robin Williams. This year alone, by the way, Team Solos in Dallas and Boston have raised over $120,000 for our work on behalf of AFSP. Wearing silver beads, symbolizing the loss of military or first responders, is Matt Wagner. Matt is a retired Army Ranger with 21 years of service. He heard about last year's Seattle overnight. Seattle overnight shortly after a young soldier who he had supervised in Afghanistan died by suicide. Matt has had the difficult job of informing families after the death of their soldier, but he says it's always much more difficult after a suicide. He is here today to represent the 22 veterans a day we lose to suicide and the families they leave behind. Just as he did last year, Matt will be walking in his full uniform tonight, and we thank him and all those like him who serve our country. Wearing gold beads to symbolize the loss of a parent is Emmeline Kim. Her father, Dr. Chung Kim, died by suicide in February of 2012 at the age of 72. Emmeline's brother, Chris, also died by suicide 6 years ago at the age of 32. Father and son died on the same day, 3 years apart. Emmeline recently returned to grad school, I should say, where she is now training to be a mental health counselor. Her goal is to help those who struggle with mental illness so that other families can avoid the heartbreak of suicide loss. She walks tonight with the hope that when more people can get mental health treatment without stigma, more lives can be saved. Bill and Ann Grainer wear white beads symbolizing the loss of a child. On December 24th, Christmas Eve, 2006, their 19-year-old son, Chris, died by suicide. And Chris had faced many challenges during his all too brief life, including OCD and depression. They were complicated by recreational alcohol and drug use. It is especially difficult for the Grainers to know that Chris's only son, Mason, who was an infant when his father died, will only know his daddy through stories and pictures. In 2012, on what would have been Chris's 25th birthday, Bill and Ann also lost their nephew, Corey, to suicide. It is their hope that funds raised for AFSP will help others battling depression to seek alternate solutions so that families will not experience the same heartbreak. Wearing red beads to symbolize the loss of a partner or spouse is Libby King. 8 years ago, Libby lost her husband, Dick, to suicide. Dick was fascinated by solar eclipses, and he would often take Libby and the 3 kids, Kendra and Logan and Malin, who are all here today, all over the world to view them. Tonight, on what would have been Dick's 65th birthday, the King family's overnight walk will remind them of the incredible darkness created by a solar eclipse and the incredible joy when the sun returns. Bree Bulliner Durant wears green beads to symbolize a personal struggle. In 2013, after years of struggling with severe depression, anxiety, and eating disorder and self-harm, Bree was hospitalized for severe suicidal ideation. Bree is proud to say that her depression and anxiety are now under control, and she has not self-harmed since being hospitalized, and we couldn't be happier. English major. She hopes to one day write a book about her journey so that other young women of color may know that they are not alone. Megan Sullivan is wearing blue beads, symbolizing support of the cause, support of our cause. Megan is the captain of the Greater Boston chapter team, and this is her 5th overnight and her 8th Out of the Darkness walk. Megan joined the suicide prevention movement after tragically losing 3 friends to suicide. She refuses to let their deaths be in vain and is turning her losses into positives. Through AFSP and the overnight, she has met countless friends. She's built a strong support network and has gained the confidence to make mental health awareness and suicide prevention a priority. Tonight, Megan is proud to talk to people who are equally as passionate to end suicide and at the same time still openly grieve all those that we have lost. This year she dedicates her walk to her cousin Jimmy, who lost his battle just 3 weeks ago. Thank you, Mary. Wearing teal beads representing a family and friends of those with mental health conditions is Jamie Torkowski. Jamie is the founder of To Write Love on Her Arms. To Write Love on Her Arms, which is a nonprofit dedicated to presenting hope and finding help for people struggling with depression, struggling with addiction, self-injury, and suicide. To Write Love on Her Arms was founded in 2006 after Jamie wrote a story about a friend and 5 days preceding her entry into treatment for addiction. The story went viral, became a book, Jamie's first book, If You Feel Too Much, a New York Times bestseller. He's been reading it to groups across the country, including tomorrow across the river in Cambridge. Jamie is proud to represent his organization and all those who have ever cared for someone with mental illness. Thank you for being here. These beads, these luminaria, these courageous people before you, they represent our dedication, our commitment, and our strength as a community. We are united in our goal and determined to bring suicide prevention out of the darkness and to save lives.